All right, we're continuing in this week's Torah reading, and we already have learned about Moses. How Moses was born, how he was miraculously saved from the hands of Pharaoh, and he was even raised by Pharaoh. He was raised in Pharaoh's house. And so he escaped all of the bloodshed, the killing of all the children. Terrible. And now we're talking about Moses growing up. Vayehi bayamim haim, and it was in those days. Vayigdal Moshe, Moshe grew up. Vayetze el achav, and he went out to his brothers, who the Jews. Vayar b'sivlosam, and he saw that they were suffering. Vayar ish mitzri maka ish ivri mechav, and he saw a Egyptian beating a Jew, one of his brothers, one of Moshe's brothers. Now Moshe, either he knew he was a Jew because his parents told him, his mother told him, and she was the one that was bringing him up, or even though he was growing in Pharaoh's house, or he was told by Pharaoh's daughter, or he just felt it, but we'll see. It says, Vayigdal Moshe, he just felt that he was a Jew. I couldn't stand to see Jewish people suffering. Vayigdal Moshe, I mean, all the other Egyptians didn't mind it at all. So Moshe grew up. It already said, Yigdal Yeled, it already said that he grew up. In another place elsewhere, it says, Vayigdal Yeled, here it is, the next sentence, the sentence right before, that Moshe grew up and he came into the house of Pharaoh and she becomes a man. So it already said that he grew up. How many times did he have to grow up? We knew that he grew up. Well, Rabbi Yehuda ben Elai says, Rabbi Yehuda bar Eliezer, Rishon the first time means that Lakuma, he grew up, means he became a grown man. Asheni Ligadula, second one is he became great. Sheminu Paro, that Paro chose him to be over his house. Vayar b'sivlosam, and he saw the suffering of the Jews. Natane nabalibo liot meitzar aleim. He put his heart and his mind to be troubled by what he saw. Who did he see? He saw Ish Mitzri. He saw an Egyptian man. No geis haya. He was one of the soldiers, the policemen. Memuna al Shotre Yisrael, and he was appointed to watch over the Jewish policemen. Shaya mamiram mikros hagever melachtan. He would wake them up as soon as the rooster crowed to do their work. And he was, so in other words, they appointed Jews to be like, to make sure to be superintendents over the other Jews. But there was Egyptians that were superintendents over those Jewish superintendents. Malkeu Barodeu. He was beating him and he was punishing him. Ubala Shel Shlomit Bas Dibri. This was the husband, so to speak, of Shlomo's Bas Dibri. Now Shlomit Bas Dibri, we're going to see this in a moment. There was this lady called Shlomo Bat Dibri, and she was to the I guess the praises of the Jewish people, the only sort of licentious woman among the Jews, the only one. And she would say hello to everybody. She was always flirting with all of these Egyptian soldiers and everything. She was married. She flirted with him, and in the nighttime, he woke up, midnight, rooster crowed. He went in and took her husband, Shlomo Bat Dibri, took him out of the house to work. And he went back in, and the policeman, the Egyptian policeman, took Shlomit, the daughter of Dibri, took her husband out of the house, and then he went in his place, and he had relations with his wife. Because she didn't know, she thought it was her husband. The man came back home. He understood that this Egyptian just raped his wife. Because when the Egyptian saw, he understood that he knew what had happened. He started to beat him, Kali on the whole entire day. Okay, him the whole entire day. Sorry. Vayifem kol. So Moshe, he saw this whole thing. He saw this policeman beating this poor, unfortunate man whose wife he had just raped. So Moshe looked here and there. Vayarki ein ish, and he saw there was no one. Vayachet Mitzri, and he smote the Egyptian. We're going to see that he smote him with one of the words of God. He said a word and he killed him. We'll see. He smote the Egyptian, and he hid him in the sand. He looked there, here and there, says Rashi. Rama saw b'bayit. What did he saw? He looked here and there. He saw here what was going on, what had just happened in the house, how this Egyptian soldier had raped this man's wife. And now how he's beating him now in the field. That's the simple meaning. But Yarki and Ish, he saw another time, he saw there was no person there. Simple meaning is, he just saw there was no one there. Moses saw that there was no one there to see that he was going to stand up for the Jew. Because nobody did a thing like that. Here it says, Ein Ish atid l'tzeit min menu, she'd gayer. That Moses already had a Holy Spirit, so to speak, and he saw that in the future, that from this Egyptian man, no good is going to come from him. Maybe somebody in the future might convert or something like that. No, he saw nothing was going to happen. So he smote the Egyptian, killed him, and he hid him in the sand. And he came out, Moses came out the next day. He saw two Jews fighting. And he said to one of them, the bad one, how did Moses know who was the bad one? How was the bad one? He said, because he was about to smite his brother. Raising your hand on another Jew to smite them is already a sin. I mean, actually, for a non-Jew also, to raise your hand to smite somebody. Who are these two Egyptian Jewish people that were fighting? It was Datan and Aviram. Now we're going to meet these two characters throughout the Torah several times. Datan and Aviram. They're going to be big stars also with when they get out of Egypt. Interestingly enough, they were among those that left Egypt. They weren't stupid, and they're going to be big stars in the rebellion of Korach against Moshe. So Datan and Aviram, they were the ones that were fighting. Shotiru minaman. These are the ones that disobeyed the instructions of Moshe when the manna fell. The manna fell. It said you're supposed to take exactly the right amount, and when you finish, don't leave anything over. And they left over. They left over on Friday. You're supposed to take exactly the same amount for Friday as every other day, and Shabbat, no man fell, and miraculously it was enough. They didn't believe it. They took a double portion. And it seemed there were two Jews were fighting. Lama takeh, he said, why are you going to smite your brother? It doesn't say lama hiketa. Why did you smite? He says, why will you hit? Nikra Russia Paramatyad. He's already called the evil one because he lifted his hand up to hit the other guy. Russia, that's what it means. Russia He said, Re'echa, why are you smiting your friend, Re'echa? But the word Re'echa also means Ra, means you're bad. He's bad just like you are. That's what Rashi says. Rasha kamotcha. So he deserved to be hit. But nevertheless, the one who does the hitting is also called bad. That's what he says. But Yomer the Rasha, he said, because both of them happened to be his brothers. They were his brothers. Moshe, they were Jews. So therefore, Moshe didn't take any revenge or anything against them, but he just told both of them off. Both of them were equally bad. Vayomer, and they said, they turned to Moshe, right? They were both grabbing each other by the tie or whatever, and they were about to hit each other. And suddenly Moshe said, why are you smiting your brother, you evil person? Suddenly they both turned and they stopped fighting. Vayomer said, one of them said, Mi samcha li saru v'shofet aleinu. Who made you as a judge? Halargeni ata omer, you go on to kill us, kasher haragtet Mitzri, like you killed the Egyptian. Vayira Moshe became afraid. Vayomar, and he said, no dadavor. Oh, it looks like this thing is known. Which thing is known? Simple meaning is that somebody must have somehow or other they knew that I killed the Egyptian. Right? You're going to want to kill us? Is it to kill us? That's what you're saying? Like you killed the Egyptian? And Moshe said, oh, it looks like the thing is known. Rashi has something that's a bit sort of frightening here. We'll see. Right in the end. They said, who made you for a leader? Ohr HaChaim, you're just a child. Moses, he was just a child, maybe he was 13 years old at the time. Halahargini ata omer, to kill us, you are saying. You should have said, you are doing. It really didn't have to say ata omer. Halahargini, you want to kill us. Hargenu. In any case, from here we see that Moshe killed the Egyptian with the Shem HaMaforesh, that he knew somehow or other the name of God. And he killed the Egyptian with that. That's what he said. You want to kill us with your word, like you killed the Egyptian? Moshe got very afraid. What does it mean he got afraid? Because somebody knew that he had killed this Egyptian. It would be now advertised whose side he was on. But there's a midrash. The midrash says Moses started to really worry when he saw that Jews were evil people like that. Dil Tor Rien. The Jewish people were, and he says, saying bad things. That also one of them would come and inform on him. Those Dil Torim used to say bad things. Moses said, so now, Shema Einam Ruin Legil. Maybe they're not fit to be redeemed. If all the Jews are evil like these people, maybe they deserve to be suffering. And then he said, Ochen, if so, the thing is known. What is known? It's known that he killed the Egyptian, right? He said, yeah, but there's a midrash and it says, now it is known to me. Something that I always was wondering about. Machato Yisrael, why did the Jews sin? Mikol Shivim Ummos, from all the other nations, Liod Nidarim, Neradim, Be'avodas Perach. Why are they suffering in this hard service? Right? And there's all these other nations that you could have taken from all the world, the 70 nations. Take another nation from Europe, take another. Paro owned the whole entire world. The only people he took, the only nation that he wanted to take for slaves are the Jews. So I was wondering why. Now I see that they deserve it. If they have evil people like this, right? Here I'm just trying to stop one Jew from hitting another Jew, and they're beating each other. I wanted to just stop it and make peace between them. and they say, now we're going to tell Paro that you were the one that killed the Egyptians. Vayishma Paro heard. He heard about it. And he decided he's going to kill Moshe. And Moshe ran away from Paro. And he went to the land of Midian. And he lived on. He sat down by a well. Rashi, Vayishma Paro, Hamil Shinolav, Datan and Aviram. Moses let them live, and sure enough, they went and they told Paro. Now he wants to kill Moshe. Masru Lekostinir Largo. He gave him to the what is it called? There's a word for that. What is it called? The one who does all the killing. Anyway, the henchman. No, it's not. It slipped my mind. The word slipped my mind. But he gave him to the official court murderer. I'll think of the word to kill him. And the executioner. Oh, he gave him to the executioner to be killed. It says it was a miracle occurred that actually they grabbed a hold of Moses. He was only a boy, and he didn't know. They grabbed a hold of him, and he didn't know that they knew. They grabbed a hold of him, put his head down on a block, took a big sword, and went to chop his head off. And the sword didn't work. It didn't go through his neck. So his neck turned into be like marble. That's what it says. We'll see later on. That God saved me from the sword of Paro. This, of course, is all midrash, but it's hinted at here. And he went and he lived in a place called Midian. He delayed there, like it says, Vayishiv Yaakov, and he sat by this big well. We can learn from Yaakov that Moshe learned from Yaakov that Yaakov, he got found his bride by a well. Eliezer also, the same thing was Eliezer, but he learned from Eliezer was the servant of Abraham. Okay, now the Kohen Midian had 7 daughters, and they drew out the water to the land. They drew out the water, and they filled up the watering troughs to feed the sheep of their father. It says Kohen Midian. He was the priest of Midian. What do you mean the priest of Midian? He was the head priest. He was the high priest of Midian. It said that their father was already in trouble. Their father was a big priest of idolatry, and he left. He left the idolatry, and he ran away. And so everybody rejected him. All the people rejected him. And so they put him in like excommunicated him. No one would talk to Yisro and everything. It says that Yitro knew all the idolatry in the world, and he rejected all of it. Anyway, they put water into the water troughs where the animals drink, where they drink from. Then the shepherds, they came via Gershom, and they drove away the daughters of Yitro because he had been ostracized by everybody. Moshe stood up. He was sitting by the well. He saw this whole thing, and Moses saved them. And he gave their sheep to eat, to drink. Patavono el Ru'uel, they came to Ru'uel, their father. One second, I thought their father's name was Yitro. It says over here, the Kohen Midian. Oh, we didn't say yet. We didn't say the Kohen Midian. Here, the Kohen Midian. Okay, the Kohen Midian. His name, in fact, is Yitro. We'll see later on. Anyway, they went back to their father, whose name was Ru'uel. Ru'uel, their father. Avian, their father. And he said, "Why did you hurry up today so quickly?" Ibn Ezra said that this Ru'uel, he was their grandfather. Because Yitro, he is eventually going to he was the chotan, he was the father. One of these daughters, Moses is going to get married to, right? So it says Yitro was their father. His name was also called Chovev. Chovev was the chotan of Moshe. Like it says, Chovev, the son of Reuel. Okay. So they said back to their father, Reuel, Ish Mitzri Etzilenu, there was this Egyptian fellow, Moses. He looked like an Egyptian because he was brought up in Egyptian's house. He was brought up in Paro's house. And Ish Mitzri saved us from the other shepherds. And also he drew water for our sheep, and he fed our sheep, gave them to drink. And he said to his daughters, where is this fellow? Lama Zavtam, why did you leave him? To call him and let him eat bread. Said, what happened? Their father, let's say Ruel is the father, right? We'll see later. It says he had a lot of different names. Hikir Bo Ruel understood that Moses somehow or other came from the seed of Yaakov. Why? Because they said that the water rose up to meet him. Call him over here and let him eat bread. Maybe he will marry one of my daughters. Just like you say, Im lechem asher hu ochel, that the bread, that the Paro gave Yosef everything that he wanted to, except for the bread that he ate, it meant his wife, Potiphar, except for his. The Yom Moshe l'shevet ish, and Moshe agreed. He came back and sat with the man, and he gave him his wife Tzipporah for his wife, for Moshe, and of course she converted. Vayoel means that he grammatically, what is the word? It means he agreed. And he swore that he wouldn't leave Midian unless he got permission from him. That's what it meant. He got permission. And gave birth to a child. And they called him Gershom. And why Gershom? Because Ger, I was a wanderer. I was Be'eretz Nachriya, in a strange land. Ger means a temporary dweller in a strange land. Okay, now the plot thickens. And it happened in those days. He says Ger means I'm living in a land that's not the place where I was born. And it happened in those days that the king of Egypt died. B'nei Yisrael, and the Jewish people, they were moaning from their hard work. V'yizaku, and their cries rose up to God from the service. Rashi, Moshe was, in those days, Moses was in Midian a long time. Then the king of Egypt died. Yisrael, and now the Jewish people really needed help. Because at least the previous king, some say he only changed his decrees, but however it is, he still remembered Yosef. In any case, here we go. The Jewish people, Moshe was shepherding the sheep, and the saving was going to come by means of him. Now we're going to learn the story about the burning bush. Therefore, these two parshot are one next to the other. That the king died. What happened? It says nitztara. He got, what do you mean he died? It says that he got this spiritual leprosy. He got leprosy. Vayeshochet tinokos Yisrael, and he would slaughter Jewish children for rochetz bedamam, and he would wash in their blood. The Siftei Chachamim that he explains Rashi, says that if you say that he just died, so why did the people scream out? What was the reason that they screamed out just because he died? They should be happy that he died. But what does it mean that because he died, they screamed out? So he says he didn't really die. he just got leprosy. And it says that a person who's a leper, he's like he's dead because he has to separate from everybody else, and his life is not life. So because of he had this leprosy, so the only cure that was given to him was to kill Jewish babies and wash in their blood, and that's why the cries went up. I mean, how many? Who knows how many? God forbid, how many babies he had to kill in order to fill up a bathtub, and he washed every day. Who knows if maybe twice a day. God heard their cries, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The screams, the Cain Meir Metim Yanku, so the screams. He remembered the covenant with Avram, with Abraham. He remembered the covenant that he made with them. He said, was it Sophrono says that he heard the prayers that the righteous Jews were praying. Like it says, V'yitzak al Hashem, and he heard their voices. God remembered, like it says, Hakimosi et Briti, I will stand up my covenant that I made between me and you. This is the promises that he made to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Le'Elohim, L'Zaracha, all these promises that he made, etc. I will hear the cries of the Jewish people. I promise I will remember my covenant. God saw the Jewish people, and God knew. Vayeda Elokim, and God knew. What did he know? What did he know? Notan Aleim Lev, that God, so to speak, turned his attention, and he didn't hide his eye from the suffering of the Jews anymore. So that's it. I've been suffering with the Jews for so long, 210 years. Enough. I can't take it anymore. Ohr HaChaim says after they cried out to God, so that caused God to remember the promises that he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that was the reason that he turned to them and saw them, because God saw how the pain the Jews were pained. That seeing that God saw this helped to alleviate the pain, because God is the essence of God is mercy, and all of his deeds are mercy. And that's what he says. So it comes out that when God gets angry, he hides his true nature. That's what it says. Anochi astir astir. That's what it means, that at the time of the exile, God is just hiding his true nature. And that's what it means. God knew. God knew things that were hidden inside of him. Right? That he revealed all of these, the pain that he had. So Moshe, he was now shepherding the sheep of Yisro, his father-in-law. So now all of a sudden, Ruel's name is Yitro. They had different names. And okay, we'll see. It says that he has 7 names, different names. Kohen Midian, and he took the sheep after the desert, and he went to the mountain of God, Hareva. Why did he go over there? He said, after Midbar, he went, he wanted to get far away. Why did he have to go into the desert to shepherd a sheep? Nobody goes into the desert to shepherd a sheep. You go into the fields, forests. So Moshe wanted to find a place to graze the sheep that nobody else knew about, because he didn't want to steal. That they wouldn't graze in somebody else's fields. So he went to the mountain of God. Why is it called the mountain of God? In the future, it's going to be the mountain of God. Al Shem Atid, what's going to be in the future. And here it calls it, the name of the mountain is called Chorev. Chorev. That's a bit of a question. Why is Mount Sinai also called Mount Chorev? So Ibn Ezra gives one answer. Kacha Katuv Moshe, that's what Moshe said. And the reason is, it's called Chareva because it is very hot there. Shaloyer, there's no rain that comes. And because it's too close to Egypt, 3 days away, like it says, it was only a 3-day journey from Egypt to Mount Sinai. They took 50 days because Ba'avur Shei Hayor Rachel, because the river, the Nile River, is so far away, so there's no evaporation there. There's no humidity. and therefore it's called Chareva because it's so dry. Chorev. Here's the opinion of, here's the interpretation of the Dat Zkanim. It says, he took the sheep, the sheep, it says, it was told him that these would be, that his sheep, who are his sheep, the Jewish people, they would be in the desert. And after that, he would gather them together. And after the people of the desert stopped dying, then he would gather them again and go to the mountain of Elohim. In other words, Moses would take the Jewish people into the desert and he would gather them all together, take them into the land of Israel, and afterwards the Mashiach would come and make take them all to the mountain of God, where the whole third temple is going to be. So all this is all a prophecy. Okay, anyway, Moses is walking in the desert, right? And an angel of God appeared to him in a flaming fire inside of this sneh. Now, a sneh is like a bramble bush. It's this Fayar, and Moses saw. Here I said that he saw an angel of God, and he saw Moses saw an angel of God, and he saw. What did he see the second time? He saw. Okay, we'll see. And behold, there is a bush, like a low thorn bush, and it's burning with fire. And this bush, eno ukal, and the bush is not consumed. Rashi says that he saw it in labat ish, said in a flame of fire, the heart of the fire, like the heart of the heaven, etc. Don't worry about the tough that's in the belavat ish. It should see believe ish in the sneh, and not any other tree. Why? Mitoch imo ani anochi betzora. I am with them in their difficulties. The sneh is the lowest of the trees, and it's also filled with brambles and bushes, and so it's burning up. And God is saying, "Don't worry how low the Jews go, and whatever happens to them, but I am with them." Ukal is not eaten; it's not like devoured. Vayom Moshe, and Moshe said, "Asura na, let me turn away, and I'll see this Mara Gadol. Why is this lo yivar? Why doesn't it get burned up? Why doesn't it get destroyed? This bush." He looked at the bush. Maybe I'm looking for the wrong angle or something. Maybe the fire is not in the bush. How could it possibly be? So Rashi says, "Asura mikan vet karev sham." I'll move from here and I'll go over there. So what's happening over here? Moses is walking in the desert and he sees the sign. It says that this angel of God, he's going to say, this angel of God happens to be Sufrano. Let's see what it is. Oh, it's a little bit. He saw in a prophecy that this image of God, this angel of God that was there in front of the Ramban, here it says, says this angel, this is the angel of redemption. Like it says, my name is within you. God said, that's what he said to Yaakov, etc. This is the angel of redemption that's always going to be with the Jews to take them out of Egypt. Now it says when Jews got out of Egypt, it wasn't through an angel. It says that God did it himself. So that's this angel. This is the Malach HaBrit. This is the angel of the covenant of God that desires you. And also we can understand from the other sentences that are coming, says the Ramban, that this is talking about God's presence was in the was there. Okay. The Baal Shem Tov, this was one of the first sayings, the speeches that the Baal Shem Tov made that sort of set the whole stage for the idea of Hasidut. He said that God appeared in this flame that was in this sneh. Now, the sneh is a bush that has no fruit. It hasn't got any berries in it or something. It just has these brambles. And this indicates the lowest level of Jew that there can be, that they have no fruits, they don't know Torah, they don't know anything. And specifically in them is this fire burning. And the fire does not consume them. They're not consumed. It's a continuous fire. It's burning inside of them. He realized immediately that this meant that the simple Jews somehow or other have some sort of an enthusiasm and a motivation that nobody else has, that no one else has. And he said, wow, I didn't know that. I thought only way to get close to God is by learning the Torah. It must be something that is an additional way, right? That the simple people also, we have to add this simplicity and genuineness that the simple people have to the learning of the Torah. Of course, learning of the Torah is the most important thing in Judaism. But in fact, even more important than learning Torah are the Jewish people. And that's why Moses broke the tablets in order to save the Jewish people. So that's what the Baal Shem Tov said. I'll turn away. I have to turn away from everything I know, all of my knowledge, all of my expert. And I want to see what is this fire that's burning in the heart of all simple Jews. That's what Moses said. I will turn from here and I'll go over there. I'm going to turn from my whole past and everything that I'm sure of, in order to try to discover what is this fire that's burning in the heart of every simple Jew. As we'll continue, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now.
Rabbi, can I ask you a question?
Yes.